he had a very clever mind, he has a very experienced person. Part of his experience was similar to mine, so he shared like his experience in a way that I relate totally with what he said. He talked to me about VIX and the volatility, and he trades a lot on volatility. I started studying volatility after his talk, and I discovered exactly what he said, that the VIX only goes down. It's impossible to be at the opposite. So I started building some algos on it. Right now I have like 3 algos that work on the VIX future. My name is Alexandre. I'm from Portugal, 47 years old. I have a degree on business administration, and I started trading with algo trading since 2008, and I started learning about the markets and S&P and Nasdaq and so on. That is my background that led me to the EPAT course last year. To master in this heart of the algo trading world. What I do right now is nowadays I raise my personal money on different platforms. I'm working with TradeStation in US, and I'm working with Binance with the crypto futures. Too. And I last year was so interesting in terms of returns, 3-digit returns in 1 year. That my family and friends, the closed ones, they start interested in having me managing their money too. So I'm moving from managing my own money, from managing other people's money, and starting thinking about creating a fund that I would do that for other people other than family and friends, that I could do this on a higher scale. But the assets under management now, they are, I would say, pretty well, pretty great, already big. So let's see what the future brings. But my path in this way, it's moving from my own personal money to other people's money. That's a very interesting path in right now. One of my major hobbies that I have is chess. I just like chess games, so I do it like between 1 and 2 hours per day. It's a huge hobby that I have, and I do championships and so on. So I have a kind of a math head, I would say, and chess, it's part of it. I like to take care of myself doing sports too. I like running, so I run every day, like 1 hour, 10 kilometers, more or less. Do some gym too. So this personal exercise routine, it's very important for me. And then that's it. I like to travel. I spend like 4 months a year traveling to different parts of the world. I've been in more than 70 countries already, so that's part of my annual routine too, and that's it.
Oh wow, that sounds really incredible. And like, I think I'm not sure if you've heard this quote before, but it's a sound mind and a sound body, right? So I think you're the perfect fit for it because you already have a sound mind. You're into maths, you're a chess whiz, and you're anyway exercising, working out, running, and right. You're trying to keep yourself up. So that's really interesting. And more than 70 countries. Are you kidding me? Seriously, is it work related or are you like into traveling a lot?
I had in the past. I was a consultant for several big companies, so I used to work with different companies and different countries. So I had to travel a lot extensively, working too. But I'm a vacation addict. I would say that even in
Okay.
even in COVID, like last year, I spent like uh, uh, I spent different time in 4 or 5 different countries last year alone. So we in an adverse situation because traveling it's not easy nowadays. But I'm from Portugal. I'm living in Brazil, and I've worked in almost all countries in South America. I've worked extensively with some countries in Africa, like Angola. Sure, I've worked in Europe too. So, and I gave training already to some companies in the United States. So that experience around the world made me travel. It's like an extension of who I am, I think. When I was younger, I mean, in the college, I initially wanted to be. I thought that I wanted to be an engineer, so I started studying electronics and so on. And I remember I was like 18 years old. I saw a magazine of Forbes in the beach that I was with my parents at that time, and I started reading with these entrepreneurs and so on that were building fantastic companies. And so I identified so much with them, and I thought, look, that is what I want to be. That's really me. I mean, I don't want to be engineer. I want to be entrepreneur. So I discovered that a little bit late in my life. I was like 18, but it changed completely my future because I didn't apply for any university of engineer no more. So I applied for business administration university, and I get in. So it was 5 years until 23. I was the best in the university in a class. That the prize was like a scholarship in a company, in a consulting training company.
Wow,
So
that's awesome.
I didn't have to send any CV at the end. I was already employed. So I started working in that company. It was called Tracy International. It was a subsidiary of Brian Tracy from US. It was in Portugal, that one. So I started working there as a business consultant. The second year, I was invited to be to be on the sales team. So the sales of consultant projects, they are very, very high level because you send these projects to CEOs of very big companies, 500 biggest companies in the country. So I was with 24 years old, and my whole team had like 32, 34 years old. So I was the younger. And I've done pretty well that year. I was probably the best on my sales team. I'm not sure if I was 100% the best, maybe the second one. But it was a huge result. More than 1 million euros of sales on the first year. It was a good performance. And I'm so good doing this, I can build my own training company. So with the age of 25,
That's right.
I built my training company based on Portugal. I've done some partnerships with companies from US and from England to represent them in Portugal. So I've started working with Portuguese companies, and they start giving me work in Spain too. I remember that I didn't speak Spanish at that time, and they said, "Look, I want to do exactly what you have done in Lisbon. I want you to do the same in Madrid to my team. Do you speak Spanish?" I said, "Yes, sure, I speak fluently." And I remember to buy some books of Spanish, and I said, "Look, I have to learn it quickly because it's like in 2 months that I have to deliver training to these guys." So it was a very nice experience. So I started working with Spanish companies too, and I've done a huge training for a hotel company called Accor, that I sold that program in Portugal and Spain for them, and they invited me to do this training to all the 110 hotels in South America. So when I was 29, I arrived in Brazil to train these 110 hotels, and I was so impressed with Brazil. It's so huge city, so it's like 200 million people compared to 10 million in Portugal. So that I said, look, I'm going to open an office here. So I opened an office. I start working with the different companies here, banks, pharmaceuticals, and so on. And then they start giving me work in other countries in South America, like Mexico, Colombia, Chile, Peru, and so on. So and some companies in Africa too, mainly in Angola, that speaks Portuguese too. So like after that, there was an opportunity here that I start analyzing it. It was when Uber came to Brazil. I understood that there was a problem here because the drivers could not rent cars easily because they didn't have credit cards, and they need cars to work. So I thought, look, that's a big opportunity because people can, if they could rent a car, they could have a way of receiving, having a salary, having an income. And there is a lot of people that doesn't have income here. So when I've done that, I've done an experience with 5 cars. I rent and subrent those cars for 5 different people, and it worked. So then I made it 50. It's like a beginning of a rental company. And then from 50, I went to 100, of 200, 500, 1,000, and I reached 3,000 cars in Brazil. Then I went to Mexico, and I put 500 cars there. And then I went to Portugal, and I put 100 cars there, to this new car sharing model that appeared like in the past 5 years. Due to COVID, in the beginning of 2020, so what happened is that these old cars were put in front of my office because it was not possible to move. So it was a major step back because I could not continue with the company. And since I've done so good on the training algo since 2008, I decided that since I'm going to stay at home, and it's a home-based kind of work right now, so I'm going to focus 100% on the training now. Sorry, on the trading now. Because I can do it from everywhere, and I can I'm good at math. I know what to do already. So I rented a server side by side with CME's, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. I start. I had some algos already, but I've built like 25 different algos on based on ES and NK and Q, the Nasdaq and the S&P mini contracts, and I applied for EPAT and to master on this kind of knowledge, and it's pretty much where I am now. So during last year, I started investigating the crypto world. We have a totally different behavior. I find out that there is already a derivatives in this world too that are very good instruments. I study them a lot, like 6 months of study. And then after the EPAT, I was not fluent in Python. I already had some knowledge in BASIC on some very long years ago. But Python, it's a fantastic language. So I kind of master in Python already. And I start working with the API of Binance. And I've done some proprietary Python programs to trade with the Binance API with the crypto world. And I've done a second server to put those algos there. And it's pretty much where I am now. Now it's 100% clear in my head that trading is what I want to pursue in my life. So I'm an entrepreneur in my DNA. But if I'm going to be an entrepreneur of anything else in my life from now on, according with what I feel now, I don't know, in 10 years or 20, but according to what I feel now, it's going to be in this area. I'm in love with the capacity of analyzing a market, trying to create an algorithm on it, and to backtest it for like 15, 20, 30 years to see that it works, to implement it, to take care, to nurturing it through the days and the years that I'm working with it to make money work for me. And if I can do the same with other people's money and give the returns that people that normally don't work, they don't have it, for me it's going to be a pleasure. So that is pretty much what I want to do for a living right now. And there is a story of I don't know if you ever heard about a fund called Medallion Fund that exists on the United States.
No, I'm not aware of it.
Okay, there is this guy that nowadays he has already 81 years old, I think, that it's called Jim Simons. He has a book that it's called something like the man that cracked the market, or that beats the market, something like that. He has the best fund, the best hedge fund with the highest return, higher than Warren Buffett. That constantly for like 40 years or so, he had like a 60-something% of return per year based on algo trading only. So when I found this guy and I said, look, it is possible. he employed brilliant mathematicians and brilliant programmers, and he could crack it. He could solve it. It's like the markets are based on emotions, and the emotions we think that we improvise, but we do not. We are humans. Fear and greed, they are mathematical. We can make an equation based on that. I know how a person behaves when he or she sees a bear. So we can create equations that they can take advantage. I mean, they can use the information in the markets to get returns that manual traders they cannot, and investors traders they left money on the table. So I'm pretty much sure that if other peoples in the past could do it, I can do it too. And the returns that I had last year, it's a proof that that's possible. So it's the difficulty or the problem that I'm in now, it's scalability. How can I scale what I'm doing now to other people's money and to other mathematicians and other programmers, and make everybody working with the same goal, and increasing a little bit the complexity of what I'm doing and how much I'm going to I want to grow, and how much small I want to be. Smaller means less problems, easy life. Big means more fulfillment, but more complexity of life. So that balance, it's what is in my head. What it's going to be the future, it depends on the balance that I figure out that it's going to be the best for me. I start trading, I would say manually, in 2008. The volatility on the markets were huge at that time. It was like 2 or 3 months previously from the big crash that happened like in September 2008. So I started like in February, March, something like that. So I started learning about derivatives. What is a future? What is an option? How does it work? What kind of margins they need? At that time, I started with I had to phone to training desks and to do the orders. So I was in a line saying, "Oh, I want to buy this quantity of this future. Oh, the price that I have is this one. So okay, close at that price." So it was like an ancient world that it's not possible for me to imagine that. So my old calculations were based on a software that I used at that time. I was using Metastock, and I had to buy data and put on that Metastock software and I analyze and backtest my strategies for the past like 20 or 30 years. I just trade day bars. It was impossible at that time trade 5 minutes or 1 minute bars. It was totally impossible because of the nature of the trading. It was by phone, and it was not possible to me to trade in a different scale. I started getting good results. They were not huge, but they were good. And I find out that the process of thinking about strategies and backtesting the strategy and to create the algorithm was the difficult part of it. The part of the implementation to have the discipline to follow the market, to understand what is the moment to get in, the stop and the exit, and so on. It's not it's the easy part. I only needed discipline. I only needed to focus in the numbers and don't think about it. Just implement the things that I saw in the screen. So if it's something that it's so straightforward and was taking me so much time to do, it doesn't make sense for me that it would be like a manual thing that I have to do. So I start trying to understand if there was an automation that I could program to be a machine doing it without being me. It was when I found out the TradeStation at that time with easy language that I could program the platform to do the tradings for me based on the algos that I found out. So that was when I first contact with that. I programmed some 2 or 3 different algos, and I went to the market. It was a very interesting moment because I was very successful. I put like $50,000 to begin there with that algo, and I multiplied by 10 like in 2 months. So I had like $500,000. It's a true story. So when I was in September 2008, I took out some of the profits, so it was very good at that time for me. And in September 2008, the markets crashed, and I lost everything. So all the earnings that I had, I took some profits. So the bottom line was good. I had profits. But I learned in a very, very, very expensive way that I needed to understand and manage the risk. Managing the risk, it's a huge matter. It's something that you really need to understand. Otherwise, you can be a fantastic algo trading, but you are going to blow all of your account easily if you are leveraged. So in 2008, it was very bad for me because I blow out my account at the same time that the consultant company was without work because all the companies were broken. It was very bad here. So I was out of the stock market and I had like to pass like 2 or 3 years in the desert and trying to recover my finances and so on. So I started looking at the stock market better in 2015, 2016, and the last 2 years were the strongest one. And something very important for me on the EPAT program and in my experience that I read previously is how to allocate my capital to different algos in a way that the risk management makes sense, how to put in each strategy in a way that if the drawdown it's the worst in 20 or 30 years, you are not out of the market and you can continue to do your work because in all boats that try to cross the ocean, there are days that you are going to have storms. It's part of it, the life, but you cannot die. You have to survive it. So you can go slowly in that moment and try to figure out when you are going to have good days, but you have to be prepared for storms. And when in 2008, when I started on the algo trading, for me, I was like an optimistic guy that thought that all days are going to be sunny. I'm not going to have storms. And I discovered the worst way, a big storm that I was not counting with it, that was on the crash of 2008, that took out all the things that I've built until there. Fortunately, when I returned in like 10 years after, some of the algos that I developed in 2008, they were still valid. So the same things that 10 years ago worked, they still work right now. And I'm working with the same part of the same algos. I developed several more. That is to say that the markets, they don't change that much. What I'm doing very differently from 2008 is the risk management. It's like I'm a totally different person. It's like I was all in 2008 all the time. I was all in, and now I don't risk more than 5% of my money in any strategy on a given time. So that produced completely different results. It's when I'm right, I don't get so much money when I like in 2008 for sure. It's not possible to have 10 times the results in 2 or 3 months with algo trading without facing the possibility of being blown up in the account easily. So that balance, it's something that it was a huge improvement in my trading history. It was like 2020 when I start with all these changes in my life and all the things that and I decided that now, since I'm going to stay at home, I'm going to focus on trading and so on. I was with free time that I could use to learn. I am an avid learner. All my life I was. So I had time to master on the algo trading that I love. And I start searching on the internet what could be the training that I would do to master in this area. I came across several websites and books and so on. When I saw the EPAT training course, I was in love with it. The number of different disciplines, matters, teachers. It was a complete course, a complete level of disciplines that all interact in a way to you to know what you are doing when you are doing your algo training. Some of them I felt that I was already very good at, but there is always space for more knowledge. But others, I didn't consider it at all. So, and it was really nice for me to have a deep knowledge on it, or at least a starting level that I could develop more. And nowadays, the information is available everywhere, and the internet has this huge capacity of inform you of everything that you want to know. The only problem, Viraj, is that even with the internet and all the knowledge available in the tap of your hands, sometimes you don't know what to search. Because if you don't have the knowledge, what you are going to search? So EPAT has this very big advantage that is giving you the guidance of the disciplines, the matters that they are important to you to be a master on the algo trading. Of course, you are not going to be master just because you are listening different teachers on different disciplines, but you are going to have a guidance of everything that matters. And after that, you can search and you can learn and you can buy books and you can find videos to have a deeper knowledge in all that matters. Without it, you can't even know how to search because you don't have this guidance in your head, So that was what made me take the EPAT, and I think that's the big advantage of EPAT training, like the one that you have put it together. The same kind of feeling that I had with my graduation of business administration that I had when I was younger. I had the feeling that I had the guidance to learn from there on everything that I would like on that matter, because I already have a structure in my head of the different disciplines that are needed to be successful. So the EPAT, it's the same experience. One that most impacted me, I don't remember his name, I think, but help me if I was, I think that one particular teacher, it's a very, very close mind. One that most impacted me, I don't remember his name, I think, but help me if I was, I think that one particular teacher, it's a very, very close mind. Yeah, I didn't saw it as a shock. It's like it's part of life. Look at the people that they don't fall off the bike if they don't try to run it. Anyone that's tried to run a bike, it's going to fall. It's not possible to learn how to ride in a bike without falling. It's every skill that you develop in life, it's like running a bike. You see other people running, you see that it's possible, and then you try the first time and you think that it's not possible. I'm going to run it. It's not possible. Look, I cannot be 1 second without wheels or without having someone holding my seat on the back. So, and then you follow and follow and follow again and follow again, and without understanding, you are riding it alone and you are being successful. And when you know how to do it, you start thinking of going quickly, doing other things that you can do with your bike and so on. So it's a kind of the same experience in life, isn't it? I think that there are two types of people. There are people that they don't want to suffer. So it's people that they run out of problems. They want to protect themselves. They want to be safe. It's a kind of a profile. And there are people that want to run for the pleasure. So they are optimistic and they try to get things done and find different ways and discover the wheel and so on. So those are two different profiles. I'm the second. For sure, I'm the second profile. I'm an optimistic person, and I try to solve problems, and I try to find new ways of doing things, and I try to discover how the things can be done in the different ways, and so on. So I don't mind to sometimes to fall, to lose, and to learn from the experiences. It's part of the game. It's the game of life. If you protect yourself, you don't experience life, and you don't do things. You don't go out of your comfort zone, and you do all the times the same with the same people doing the same things all day long until the end of life. For me, it doesn't make sense a life like that, because what's the purpose? So why living 70 years like the previous year that you have lived, so without having new experiences and so on? So it's kind of a profile, I think. 100% honest with you, I would say the following. People are made of hardware and software. Hardware, it's their brain, the size of their arms, the size of their legs, the color of their eyes, and so on. And software, it's the learning that they had through their lives. To be a quant, you have to have hardware and to have software. It's not possible to be a quant without having a proper hardware. It's you have to have a mathematical mind. You have to think math. You have to have a very structured mind. You have to know by heart all the matters in statistics and so on. That's 50% of it. If you don't have an hardware, you can have all the software on it and it's not going to work because you don't have the proper hardware. EPAT, it's a fantastic software. You are going to be exposed to all the disciplines and matters that are important, and you are going to be able to search and have a deep knowledge in any one of it. So if I would be an advisor to someone in a career, any career, not only algo trading, but anyone on earth, I would say, make sure that you have the proper hardware to the job. Don't try to be a runner if you don't have the hardware. Don't try to be an engineer if you don't. Don't try to be a translator if you are not. I would say it's easy for you to learn languages and to speak different languages. So follow your hardware. Try to see if you have the proper hardware. And if you have something that you have an advantage on other people's hardware on this specific field, then you have I would say it's more than you can. It's you have to find the best software. You are obliged to have the best software to go with your hardware. It would be a shame not to have the best software if you have the proper hardware for a job. And the quant world, it's a fantastic world. It's one of the careers that you can earn more than your mind can imagine. And to grow personally at the personal level and financially, it's exponential. You are going to meet fantastic way. You are going to learn some things about the markets and in the journey about yourself that it's going to be very fulfillment. But try to figure out that you already have the hardware, the correct hardware, and then EPAT. It's for sure it's going to be a nice first step to have the correct software on it, and it's a learning process that it's not going to end because markets change and softwares change, and then the products in these financial markets they get complex, but if you are a learner, you are going to you are going to learn about everything that happens. For instance, crypto market derivatives, they didn't exist 2 years ago. So for everybody, for all the quants, it's a new thing that they try to figure out how it works and how to create algos and it. So that is software. But the hardware, don't misuse your time to getting software inside your equipment that you don't have the proper hardware. That's the biggest mistake I think that people do in their lives. They try to build something that their hardware doesn't allow them to be. So that's my personal feeling. Whereas it's not that I would say most common speech that everyone can be what they think that they can do, or that the if you dream you can be whatever you think. And I'm not sure about that. I think that people have specific hardwares that they can be some things in their life better than others, and they have to discover what their hardware allows them to do, and then they find out the software to work on.